Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up with the Consciousness Cafe. I am Lisa Ferraro. I am so happy to be joined this morning by my beautiful friend, brilliant, wise, wisdom weaver, Reverend Christie Hardwick. Good morning, Christie.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great. So good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for saying yes to this opportunity of SoulCall Ministries. And we get to dance together in this field. It's so wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have so many questions for you. But mostly what we do here is we share a little bit about, as you know, the wisdom, the things that you read, or the spiritual practice, what brings you back to center. But first, I just want to tell us a little bit about why you said yes to the vision of joining us with SoulCall Ministries.
Well, it just makes so much sense. Anything you do, by the way, and anything that's been inspired by the beautiful Erika Leckett, who's with us at all times, is something that I'm going to jump right on because I know that it's in the right trajectory for good and that arc toward the best in each of us. So I'm excited to just be here with you. And the idea of SoulCall Ministries, the feeling I had about it as soon as you said it was ready and time to launch was yes, 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 yes. It's time. Every single person is a minister of their own life. And it doesn't mean that they need to be ordained by someone or need some kind of paperwork. It means that their own soul has a calling. And it could be something very simple. It could be something very grand. Not all of us have to be Michelangelo. Not all of us have to be Leonardo da Vinci. We can be, but we could also be someone who makes people smile or laugh. Or a woman I know in Canada who makes beautiful jewelry out of found objects. Or someone else who, a friend of yours you were just talking about, who's an amazing herbalist who knows how to explain what that little plant is. So I love SoulCall Ministries because this idea that there is a calling for each of us, and as we are willing to listen, get quiet, pay attention, and be guided by it, we are healing the planet. We're healing and raising the vibration of this beautiful earth by not going against ourselves. We reduce that violence inside by being loving to ourselves enough to listen.
Everybody watching, do you see why I am so excited about having Christie join us and just the brilliance? You've always been someone who inspired us as well. And now I can speak for myself personally. Since the first time we met you over a decade ago, and we've been participating in your inspiration weekends. And that was another way of, we just watched how beautifully and respectfully you would weave art and wisdom and the wisdom of the arts, and just to gently, it was kind of like this gentle brushing away of sand. It's just like loosening this. The soil would get so loose that it would just kind of brush away instead of chisel away. So respectfully, without hitting people over the heads with a message. It wasn't about that. It was more an invitation to uncover.
Yes. Yeah.
And so respectfully done. I keep using that word because I think the soul knows what it's doing. And it doesn't need to be hammered on, right? It just needs to emerge.
So that word is coming up for you. Respect. It's so important because this SoulCall Ministries respects the idea that each individual has this call. It's not something that I need to tell you, not something that you need to learn from me. It's something that I'm just willing to be one of the facilitators in your life to help it come forth.
Yeah. I like the way you just said that, the facilitators to help it come forth. I think there are spiritual teachers, and sometimes we find ourselves in the position of being spiritual mentors for others, not even necessarily way showers, but the idea of that there is a way, and that way is you. The way you got here and the way you do it is going to be the way you do it. Like, so you said something right before we started to talk and stream about like, you do you. Something to that effect. So this morning, how do you do you? What keeps you in your balanced zone, like operating from that sacred center, taking those steps in the darkness, as they say, with faith, knowing that, how do you keep yourself centered?
You know, I will say, rather than the kind of typical responses of some of us who consider ourselves, spiritual teachers, for me, it's really acceptance, accepting what is in the given moment. and not efforting and trying to be centered, but allowing for what is showing up as my teacher in that moment. So if I'm feeling agitated or even anger arises or some other emotion that we say we don't like to feel,
Yeah.
it's being present with it and saying, oh, what do you have to offer me at this time? And I do always return to the breath. I do always return to that stillness and an awareness of what I have to be grateful for, which is always present, but I don't rush to it. I don't rush to, okay, let me get rid of that feeling, because it's all information. And this experience on the planet, I believe, with this body that we have, is intended to be experienced. It's intended to be felt. So I get centered by staying in the present moment with what's happening right here and right now.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And it's following the breath. So I know you're a yogini practicing yoga. There's so many forms of yoga. All are beneficial at different times when we find them. I believe things come and go in proper time. And but is there one particular form you're appreciating mostly right now?
Lisa, I think about what you just said about respect. And I think what I appreciate most are the teachers who respect the breath and respect the individual body that's working with its own breath, and don't try to push the body or push the breath. So it doesn't matter to me it's Iyengar, it doesn't matter to me if it's, Hatha flow yoga, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever that teacher's background is, it's really the teachers that I gravitate towards are ones who have a reverence for the breath and each individual practice and truly mean that. They're not trying to get you to get into an asana and just do it right. They want you to be present with your body, be present with your breath, and see what wonders come from that. So I love all the practices. I have to say I've not gravitated toward Ashtanga because it's so athletic, and that's just not me. And all the twisting and turning. But if I needed that kind of physical challenge, I understand why people, gravitate towards it. I tend a little bit towards more of the flow and a little bit more gentle.
Yeah, it's different. It's funny. I started with Ashtanga, and I'm starting to incorporate some other forms now. But I started mostly with it because it was the first one. I never knew there was another, and it's a good one for me once we're able to start touring again or moving around some. Because it follows the exact same form all the time. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no place to get to a yoga studio, you could just keep doing it. But yet it's all about the breath. It's all about that breath. I was writing something the other day that had everything to do with like singing. You're a singer and you write beautiful, inspired chants and songs too, which I love. And following the flow of the breath on a melody is just like following the flow of breath in a body. The soul is like what Rumi said, this body is a reed flute, and you, my soul, are the melody. It's just like pulling that forth. And I watched you do this, again, the way you would weave what we do, the soul sessions, which is going to happen tonight at 7 p.m. We would do a version of that with the Inspiration Week. And what I loved right off the bat, both of us loved it right off the bat, was how you realized it looks like we tweezed in every little element. We had a lot of things ready, and what we would do was we would bring it in by the way people were breathing and experiencing the moment. And it looked so fluid and effortless, but it's because we knew how to read the energies. So that's another appreciation I have for you, is your capacity to, as you said, being present in the moment, which you are, facilitating the opportunity for shifts in energy and breath. And you speak more of, did you always know you had that capacity? When did you realize, I'm on to this, I do this a little bit differently?
That's an interesting question. And one thing about us, and being real and whispering to each other when we're working together and saying, let's change it to this, let's change it to that. One thing I'll realize as I listen to you talk is I said Ashtanga, and I meant Iyengar.
Iyengar.
That's the one that I have trouble with. But anyway, there are A words. What's interesting is as a being. When I was a child, I had this big spirit, and I would walk around and run around dancing and singing. And I would learn a crazy song. And I was probably like maybe 5 years old, and I don't even know where the song came from, but it was something about, there were 3 gypsies that come to my door, and downstairs ran this lady. Oh. And I would sing this song in just a big way, my big, mouth, and I'm this little thing singing, and everyone would laugh, and they had so much fun with it. So I from the early on, I loved, being in front of people and giving them something that was coming from me naturally. And there was silliness, and there was openness, and there was playfulness.
Yeah.
And that did start, but then it got squelched down because I didn't have teachers that talked to me about my soul call. And my soul call was a playful performer. And at some point, I was given the instruction that it was too much, too loud, too. And so I went and got smaller and went inside corporations and did work and did what everybody else was doing. All the while, my soul is calling for me to just break free of this nonsense. And eventually, when I rose at a level in corporations to an executive, she came back,
Yeah.
because it was, I was making so much money. I was, at the high top, and I was bringing in drummers and dancers and storytellers and stuff and using it for leadership training and having fun and everything. And it was an engineering company, and the engineers went to the CEO and said, that woman, she's just crazy. She's out there on the lawn. She's got her nails painted green with diamonds on them and stuff. He said, you know what? You get her results, you can do whatever you like.
Nice.
So that's the thing about, we can have another whole conversation about women in leadership and that whole, interesting container that we are sometimes tried to be fit into. But
Right.
That soul of mine was wanting to break through and play. I would sing to people at meetings and just quiet them down just like that. A company was going in a very bad direction, was having a really hard time, and people were just flying off the handle, not really focused and not getting centered. And I stood up in a meeting of 100 leaders, and I just started, for united we stand, divided we fall. And if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together. And when I sang the words together, you saw people just lift. Wow. And start to coalesce. Yes. So I knew from that child that singing and music, wherever you are, and just bearing your heart and soul, what gives people the permission to let their light shine, and they did.
Beautiful. I'm just taking all that in before I thank you again for joining us and for being part of SoulCall Ministries, and for listening to your soul calling and bringing it out so beautifully and boldly. And for those of you who are joining us this morning, Christie is going to be joining us a lot. You're going to see her speaking on Sundays starting on Mother's Day in May, and also weaving into soul sessions and interviewing people on Wisdom Wednesday mornings with Consciousness Cafe, the wake up call. So join us. If you love this, share it with all your friends, and tune in to SoulCallMinistries.org. You can also give there. We're doing amazing work in the world, creating masks and bringing them to people who can't get out of fear of not being able to get out right now, and bringing fun baked goods and deliciousness to some of the hospitals and staff who are doing great things in the world to make sure that we're all safe. So just little ways of saying thank you. If you have an idea of how we can say thank you to somebody in your community, please let us know at info@soulcallministries.org. Once again, Christie Hardwick. You can read more about Christie on the website, soulcallministries.org, under Who We Are and under Purveyors of Consciousness. She's certainly one. And I'm happy to be partners with you in this global community. I love you so much.
Love you too.
See you again next time.
See you next time.
Bye.